Hello, you are doing the Target 4.5 retest film. We're going to use graphs and tables to solve quadratic equations. Mostly real life situations. We're going to translate between representations, all that kind of stuff. So make sure you have your white packet with you. We're going to actually do some of the problems on the white packet. You do need to have the white packet fully completed in order to do the retest. If you need more help than what's in the movie, go see your teacher before or after school or during advisement. Here we go. We're going to handle number 3 and number 4 first. These first few problems are actually pretty easy. It asks you how many solutions or zeros does the function have. So you need to know what that word means. Solutions or zeros are just where it crosses the x-axis. So it's this point and this point. So this one has 2 zeros. It asks you how many. And then it actually asks you what are the zeros. So this first one is x equals 1, and the second one is x equals 5. If you come across an equation that doesn't cross the x-axis, you say it has no zeros, but don't put 0 for what are the zeros. You would say none for that one. If you say 0, that means that it goes through at 0. Bad news. All right, let's move on. Here is a word problem that talks about a yo-yo. It's on a 5th floor balcony. The yo-yo follows that function where h is the height of the yo-yo measured in feet and t is the time in seconds. On the website, there is a link to a graphing calculator. I will pull mine up here. Notice that I already have it plugged in. 2.5x squared minus 20x plus 44. And when you graph it, it looks like this. So we're going to do a few things here first before we touch that graphing calculator. The first one is how long does it take to get to its lowest point and how close does it get to the ground? So if you can picture the graph, it's this vertex right here. And we all know from the 8 million problems we did with vertex that we follow the opposite of b over 2a to find that. So it's opposite of negative 20 over 2 times 2.5. That's 20 over 5, or 4. And then we can plug that back in. We're going to find h of 4. It's 2.5 times 4 squared minus 20 times 4 plus 44. When you work that back out, you end up with 4. So how long does it take? That is the t, or the x coordinate of the vertex. So that's 4 seconds. And how close does it get to the ground? That's 4. And notice the height is measured in feet, so it'd be 4 feet. I'm also going to skip down to this initial height because that's going to help us with the window on the graph. The initial height is where the time is 0. So if I plug 0 in for all the t's, you're going to end up that you see the y-intercept ends up being that. So 44 feet is the answer to that one. So now the other ones are going to take us to the graphing calculator and figure out some things here. So here's the graphing calculator. Here it is. We know our initial height is 44, so we can change our window. So I'm going to show you the window change here. We don't need any negatives. So I'm going to put 0 for the x min. We know that it takes 4 seconds, so I'm going to double that and put 8 in this spot for the time. Put down a couple more. 0, it starts at 44 and goes down. It opens up. So I'm going to put 44. No, I'm going to put 50 there to make it a little bigger. And when I hit graph, you'll see this. There's the graph. All right, so we want to find in number 21, it says, when is it 10 feet from the ground? So under y equals, I'm going to put in the second spot 10. Oops, not 100, just 10. And when you hit graph, it draws that line straight across. So we need to find the intersections here and here on that line. You do so with the calc button. There it is. And 5 is the intersection. And we can slide it over closer to this intersection point. Hit enter twice, and then it asks you if you want to guess, and you hit yes. So the first intersection point is 2.45 and 10. Notice that is at 2.45 seconds. It's at 10 feet. But there was also that second one in there, and that's the one we also want to find. So we're going to repeat the process again. 5 is intersect. Slide that cursor all the way over towards that second intersection point. Hit enter a couple of times, guess it up, and I get 5.55 and 10. And that's at 5.55 seconds. So there are the two places where it's 10 feet from the ground. The other couple of questions ask you a few other things. So number 22 asks you 2 feet from the ground. So instead of 10, we will plug in 2. Oop, that says 20. And when you graph, here's what it looks like. Ooh, that one doesn't touch. So you know that the yo-yo never gets 2 feet from the ground. So it says when is it 2 feet from the ground? Never. Okay, but if it did touch, you would do that whole intersection piece. Now, this one says 7 seconds. Okay, that's different from 2 feet. The feet was the height. Seconds is actually the time, t. So for this one, we're actually looking for this. Now, there's a couple different ways you can find it. You can use algebra. Plug that into your calculator and do that whole mess. Or you can go to a table. I want to show you the table. It's the second graph button. And at 7 seconds, remember x is t, or time. At 7 seconds, we have 26.5 feet. Okay, will that work for any seconds? You bet. If you go back to the table at 0 seconds, notice it's 44. It's exactly what we had for the initial height. Okay, at 4 seconds, oops, at 4 seconds, it's 4 feet, which was exactly what we found for the vertex right here. So you can go to use a table for any of this kind of stuff. Use the graph for any of this kind of stuff. That's what this target is all about, is using that table and graph. So there you go. If you need more help than that, feel free and contact your teacher. Go to school early or stay late, or go during advisement to get help for these things. Make sure you finish packet before you retest, and good luck.